This motorcycle is as German as Oktoberfest at the Beer Library in Koramangala, Bengaluru. That said, it does have a most wonderful chassis, and 6 years ago, it stunned us with its Italian looks. The Bengaluru motor works, and it's never really been lovable. Arguably though, it's been better as a TVS than as a BMW right through its career. And this is a TVS. So does adding the propeller badge make it better? I know that that's not a great start. But there's more. Now that we have the G310 RR on MotorInc View, we are not planning to review the TVS Apache RR 310 separately. There is no need, they're exactly the same motorcycle. If we were to take a leaf out of the BMW playbook, all we'd have to do is take this video, move the RR to before the 310 and change a few colors, and done. Do remember that everything we say applies to the RR 310 and the 310 RR right through the video, but we'll be sure to highlight the 2.5 actual differences. The TVS Apache RR 310 from 6 years ago was a wonderful design with this bulging fairing panels from the wind tunnel that gave it its top speed claim. Today, nothing has changed, but this motorcycle still has a lot of presence on the street. And in the BMW colors, it looks good, and the material and paint quality has always been good. But you could ask that should this motorcycle not have been updated along the way more? We know that the RTR 310 implies that a new engine is coming to this motorcycle shortly, and in that sense, this might be the last generation of the current 310s. And since BMW has done very little more than repaint, rebadge, re-sticker, and reprice this motorcycle, that's what's going to happen next. You could even argue that the BMW looks old mostly because TVS has not updated the RR 310. You could argue that. We'll move on. TVS Apache RR 310 has always had adequate performance. Not ever awesome, sometimes a little lackluster, but always adequate. I'm told that we have Munich to thank for that. And at the very beginning, the G310R, for example, it had a lot more vibes and buzz than the TVS equivalent. Today, they're about equal and buzzy. The power delivery is a little bit odd too. There's nice drive off the bottom, and then the acceleration sort of fades in the middle before it returns from 5500 RPM and stays all the way to the red line. You do get used to it, and the RR will feel quick because of the noise and the buzz, especially at high revs, but it's not very satisfying. This bike needs to be smoother, as smooth as its own gearbox, which is slick and shifts positively. There's also the question why after 10 years of relatively poor sales and the clear move in the premium market towards the 250cc class and the 350-400cc class, this motorcycle remains unchanged in the middle, where the performance is matched by the top 250s and the prices are closer to the 350-400s. But we'll deal with that later, because where the TVS excels is the handling department. That trellis frame is absolutely marvelous, and it manages to feel sharp and sporty and friendly in all conditions. Going down the highway, up a twisty road around the city, I love how direct, connected, and natural it feels. This is also true for its suspension. It feels sporty for sure, but over the bumps, it's not harsh or uncomfortable. The same is true for the brakes as well. The initial bite is well judged, and that's chased down by a lot of force and feedback. The biggest difference between the BMW and the TVS is actually the tires. And given the prices they charge, that's backwards. The BMW gets Michelin Pilot Streets. Good tires in the dry, not so capable in the wet. The TVS gets Michelin's Road 5s, which are the gold standard. They are beautiful in the dry, stunning in the wet. They last a long time, and they offer insane feedback. If the Pilot Street is the Kardashian you vaguely recognize but can never name, the Road 5 is Kim. The tires, they are good enough reason to pick the TVS over the BMW. Both the 310s are good at making you comfortable, both because they are identical. The riding position is sporty, but not too sporty, and neither does too much for the pillion at all. But if you do want an upgrade for less money than this, you can get the Apache 310 BTO or built to order model that gets adjustable suspension and you can tune it to your liking. And if you do order the BTO, you get that experience of an exclusive premium brand. You know, the part where you wait in a queue? But you should know that despite the lack of space behind the rider and the buzzy engine, many do tour on the RR310 precisely because it's easy to ride and doesn't have a very sporty riding position. Depending on which key you use, the appropriate logo appears on the vertical screen, which was a little odd as a design detail at the start, still sort of is. But after the logos, it's all identical. BMW has not bothered to change the UI UX or update the color schemes even to their own design language. And strangely enough, the BMW doesn't have Bluetooth, the TVS does. So what you will see is a slightly cluttered screen that does take some getting used to. Both bikes also offer a selection of riding modes, and that does make some difference to your economy and performance. But I'm not convinced that on a mild-mannered motorcycle like this, riding modes are going to be super useful. Most riders, I believe, in a few months will default to the max performance mode and they'll never change a mode again. It's cool to have the modes, but I don't think they're very useful. Let's wrap this up. The TVS Apache RR310 is an impressive-looking, comfortable, high-quality sports bike with an engine that needs to be smoother. On the other hand, the BMW G310RR, that's an impressive-looking, comfortable, high-quality sports bike with an engine that needs to be smoother for a lot more money. TVS service has a reputation for being slightly difficult. BMW service has a reputation for generating bills that are slightly difficult to digest. The most German thing about this bike is that at service, they'll give you German chain lube, which costs nearly 2 times what an expensive brand name chain lube would be outside. Chandler would ask, God bless his soul, could BMW Motorrad be more serious about India? And that's not a frivolous question. BMW finds it easy to sell the big GS and the 1000RR. Everything else has proven to be challenging for years. The GS buyer is also aging, and let's be frank, that's a sunset market, and it appears to be true for most of BMW's established global markets. BMW needs to find new customers and new fans fast. It's why they started working with TVS 10 years ago, and today they have 3 310s, all expensive and all nearly unchanged. These sales numbers are good only in contrast to BMW Motorrad's other sales numbers. If you look at BMW cars in contrast, they're not from the same planet. Consider the G310R, that sweet firecracker, or the G310 GS with its effortless comfort. The buzzy engines, the just about adequate performance, and the expensive prices, and they are still so much easier to recommend than the G310RR. Less of the same for more of your money is a sales strategy you don't encounter a lot because it never seems to work. Cut. We're done.